Hi guys, it is Aoife from Fred We See Died Laughing, and I'm here to bring you another monthly recommendations. So Monthly Recommendations is a Goodreads group that was created by Trina over at Between Chapters and Kayla at Kayla Rayne, and I will leave a link to their profiles and the Goodreads group below. And the theme for this month is fantasy books, so I'm going to give you a few fantasy books I've really enjoyed, and hopefully I can convince you to read them. The first book I'm going to talk about is The Copper Promise by Jen Williams. This is a trilogy of books I started reading last year. I've read the first two books in this trilogy. The third one is out later this year. I'm really looking forward to it. And it is about three different people. There's a group of kind of travellers, Wydron, Sebastian and Lord Frith. And Wydron and Sebastian are mercenaries. They're best friends and they work together, travelling around this world, this fantasy world, kind of taking weird jobs here and there to just pay for their lodging and pay for their food and just have a few adventures together. And they come across this man called Lord Frith, and he has basically been tortured to the point where he is extremely weak. He's hobbled. He is a very bitter person, but he's quite a young man, and he is trying to employ Sebastian and Wydron to help him get to this old rune in this land. And it is believed that within this rune there is a god, and a god lives or is imprisoned in this rune, because all the old gods thousands and thousands of years ago were banished from this land, and a lot of them were captured and they all died off. And they basically disappeared. And it's believed that this god is within this rune, but there's also kind of a bit of magic within this rune, and the magic will help restore Lord Frith's health. And the reason he is been tortured, the reason he is very weak, is because his family were killed. He was kind of a lord's son. He's a nobleman, and his lands were taken over, his castle was taken over by these terrible people, and all his family were killed, and he was tortured, and he wants to get revenge on them as well. So he wants to get his health back so he can take revenge for his family. So what happens is they go to this rune, and a lot of weird stuff happens, and they end up awakening this old god, and she gets out and she starts wreaking havoc on this world, and she's basically in the form of this huge ginormous dragon. So the three travellers, Wydron, Sebastian and Frith, have to suddenly kind of work together. The twosome becomes the threesome, and they have to work together and figure out how they are going to save the world from this terrible god. And a lot of stuff happens. There's loads of different character arcs. The reason I love these books so much is because there's such depth behind every single character. The world building is quite good, and it gets better in the second book, but the characters themselves it's a very character driven story. The characters go on these kind of ups and downs, these crazy adventures. We really figure out a lot about Frith's past and Sebastian's past, particularly in the first book, and it's just really fascinating. I really love the characters, I really love the world, just such a sense of adventure and action, and it's just really good fantasy series. I completely recommend people to read it. The second fantasy book I have is Poison Study by V.Snyder. It's been a couple of years since I read this book, but I'm hoping to reread the whole series this year. It's about a girl, I can't remember her name, but it's basically how she becomes the poison tester for this kingdom, and she ends up going on this crazy adventure, and I can't actually remember that much about it, but she basically has a choice of being killed for murder or becoming the poison tester. So she decides to become the poison tester because, she has a chance to live a little bit longer, and she ends up finding out all these different things about poisons and how to taste them and how to know that they're there, and it's really interesting. And she ends up working with this kind of guy who's pretty close to the government of this world, and she works pretty closely together to try and solve this mystery that's happening, and it is just really great. I can't say too much, it will completely ruin the end of the first book, but all I can say is it's really good. I really enjoyed it. It's been getting a lot of hype recently on BookTube, and it's completely deserved because it's a really great series. So I would definitely say if anyone is considering picking it up, to go and pick it up because it's excellent. The next book I have is one that I have been talking very highly about recently. It's called The Novice by Taran Matharu. This is the first book in a new YA fantasy series called The Summoners. And it is basically about this boy who discovers that he's able to read demons' writing. He's able to read scrolls, which only people called summoners can read. And he's able to kind of channel magic, he's able to do magic, summon magic, and he's able to summon demons from this kind of magical land or kind of another realm. He's able to summon demons, and he ends up summoning this demon. Every magician kind of gets their own demon. It's a little bit, it reminds me a little bit of How to Train Your Dragon, the way people kind of adopt these dragons. It's kind of, they adopt these demons, and the demons can be big, they can be small, they can fit in your pocket, or they can be gigantic, you can almost ride on them. It kind of depends on what demon chooses you, what demon you choose, but it is really, really fantastic. And he ends up going to the school to learn how to be a summoner, and there's all this war going on between kind of these orc kind of people and the humans, and then there's also elves and dwarves in this land as well. But the elves and dwarves don't have much rights. In particular, dwarves, they're not allowed to kind of be on the same streets, they're not allowed to go to the same shops or be in the same pubs, and all this kind of stuff is happening. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, and it's just really great to see this kind of magic. It's a different kind of magic than I've read about before. I really, really enjoyed it. I will leave my review for it down below if anyone is interested, and yeah, I would just recommend to read it because I think it's going to be a really great YA fantasy. The second book is coming out at the end of May, I think, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. The next book I'm going to talk about is a book that I read quite a while ago, and I'm thinking about rereading it. It is Magic Kingdom for Sale, sold by Terry Brooks. This is about a man whose life isn't really going to plan, and he ends up buying this magic kingdom he sees in a catalogue, and it's for sale for only like $150 or something really, really cheap. I can't remember the exact amount, but he ends up on a whim buying this magic kingdom, saying like, this is going to be a joke, I wonder what this is. And he gets these directions, and it turns out that he actually did buy a magic kingdom. And he ends up transporting himself into this kingdom, which is called Landover, and because he bought it, he's actually their king. And this land has been going through a lot of change. All these people have come in to try and be a ruler, and they've all failed. And this guy is kind of saying, this is crazy, what am I going to do? But then he ends up saying that he is going to give it a go, he's going to try his best and be the king. So it's just this completely normal guy with a completely normal job ends up becoming the king of this magical kingdom completely out of the blue. And it's just about his struggles, the kind of weird creatures, the evil witch that lives there, and it's just really, really interesting. There's all sorts of magical creatures. There's elves, there's witches, there's kind of bog people, there's all these weird kind of cute but dangerous creatures. I always remember really enjoying it, or at least enjoying the first few books in the series, but it's definitely one of those strange ones that I would say to check out, because you never know until you've tried them. The last book I'm going to talk about is Darkhaven by A.F.K. Smith. I read this recently and I just thought it was very, very unique. It is about a kingdom called Darkhaven, and it is ruled by people who are able to shapeshift. And the kingdom, or the king, he's not really kind of a king, he's more of just a leader. He's able to shapeshift into this really gigantic, scary kind of beast. And his son, who's supposed to be the legitimate heir of the kingdom, can't shapeshift. For some reason, he's just not able to do it. So he's not really supposed to become the next leader, because the leader is supposed to be able to protect the kingdom by being able to shapeshift. But he has kind of a half legitimate daughter. Her mother wasn't a full-born shapeshifter, so she's kind of half human, half shapeshifter. And she's able to shapeshift into something that no one has ever seen before. It's kind of like a golden horse with a spirally horn, so more of a unicorn, but it has golden wings made out of fire. So she's very, very beautiful when she shapeshifts, but they all think it's really weird because there's never been a shapeshifter of this particular breed, I guess, before. And she ends up getting thrown into the dungeons because she tells her father she doesn't want to be the leader, she won't do it. And the night she escapes from these dungeons, her father is murdered, so everyone thinks she is the murderer. So she is on the run, and she ends up finding kind of refuge in this person's arms that she never would have sought refuge in before. and he tries to help her solve who did actually kill her father, and so is her brother is trying to figure out who killed her, because he doesn't believe that she did, but all the signs are pointing to her. So it's about just kind of this kind of mystery set within this fantasy world with kind of a very unique plot, and it's just really, really good. I really enjoyed it. It is kind of I think a first novel, so there were some bits that were a little bit boring, some bits that, you know, could have been better, but as a fantasy, as a, you know, a first book in a fantasy series, it was pretty good. And I have pre-ordered the second book, which I got today, I think, on my Kindle, or yesterday, and I'm going to read that soon. I'm really looking forward to it. So that is all my fantasy books I have to recommend. I hope I've convinced you to read some of them, and if not, hopefully you'll come back for another visit to my channel anyway, and I will see you guys again next time. Bye!